Hey, what's going on? Facebook and Instagram.
Good evening.
Hey, Dexter and Tonya here. So listen, guys. Tonya and I are here with a late night edition of Stories That Matter.
Very
now,
late.
What's interesting?
A lot later than normal.
Yeah, what's interesting? Hi, Melissa on Instagram. What's interesting is we didn't come on Wednesday. We totally forgot about Wednesday.
We was so busy. We're sorry.
So, because Stories That Matter
so
are
busy.
every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we have been so busy that we failed to come and drop a story with you on Wednesday. So we're sorry. I mean, it just happens, So can you hear us?
Good question.
Hey, Sabrina, can you hear us? Okay.
I turned it down.
Let me make sure.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right. So, Stories That Matter, episode 16. So, Tonya, what's the name of this episode?
I believe we said Stories That Matter. It is episode 16. Said a little different than normal. Hear our story. So just simply put, hear our story. And we're just going to talk a little bit about ourselves.
Yeah, isn't that something?
We've done a little bit of this before, but I think we're going to go even a little bit deeper here. Hey, Don. Good. Andrea,
Charles,
hello.
hey.
Good evening, everybody.
Cordell, what's going on?
Hi. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what Tonya and I will do is tell you a little bit about our story, okay? And some of you guys know our story. Some of you don't.
Who's been on Stories That Matter? I think our story matters, too.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, it does.
It has points to it. And
yeah.
Whenever we do Stories That Matter, we always share a story, but then we kind of pull out some points from it just to kind of share a little bit. It helps all of us grow. So we're going to do that tonight, but just go a little bit deeper here because we're going to tell, I'm going to tell some of my business as we share our story. Is
yeah,
that good?
It is. So you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, I was going to, where is this? So let's move it over here.
All right. So yeah, our story is in layers for sure. There's so many different things about Tonya and our story. So we'll just kind of tell you a little bit about some things, and we won't share everything because it's not enough time for that. But so go ahead, Tonya.
He says go ahead. All right. So let's just tell a little bit about our story. How about we talk about and just start off with how we met?
Yeah.
So Dexter and I met. We've been married now for 19 years. We had our 19th wedding anniversary on April 21st.
Yep.
So we've been married. It'll be 20 years next year. And honestly, talking to Dexter, even throughout the month, even throughout the year, last year, I was like, man, it doesn't seem like we've been married that long. And I'm grateful for that. It feels good to be able to say that. But we've been married for 19 years. And we met the first time because Dexter was my banker. Right? That's the first time we met.
Yeah, I'm a former banker, State Employees Credit Union here in Raleigh, North Carolina. 1998.
Is that when we first met? Yeah.
97.
Might have been not like 97
or
so.
So 1997, I met Tonya at the bank.
Hi, Lynette.
Hey, Lynette, Shanita. So I met Tonya at the bank. And it's a funny story. I like to tell people I checked her credit out before we got married. I wanted to make sure she was a viable candidate, for me to marry her. Anyway, that's a little joke. But yeah, so we met.
A little one.
We met in 1997 at the bank. Okay, so go ahead, Tonya.
Okay, so we met, Dexter and I met because I was actually, I went into the bank basically to... Actually, was it to get a loan? I think it was a loan at that time. Am I right?
I think it was.
I did go in. I needed a loan. I was married at the time, and I was actually working. And some know, many don't. But at the time, I had just started with. I had been with Mary Kay for a few months, so I can't remember what the need was for this loan. But I just know that I had to go in, and I went to get one. And he was working with me. He was my loan officer. So Dexter going over everything, credit, my income, all of those things. And as we were talking, I had to share with him, well, I also have this side business. He says, okay, give me that information. And when I did, he was able to take that over to his supervisor, and he advocated for me and he got approval. And so I was approved for the loan. And that's basically how we met initially. So it was like, Dexter Scott, met him at the bank. We were just simply friends. And we weren't even friends. He was my banker.
Yeah.
I am so grateful because at that time I put you all offered something, but I basically insured my loan. Hey, Lanika, I insured my loan. And it was some months later, I received some news that my husband had just been diagnosed. He was having some issues and things at home. And I can remember in the car pulling up, we was in an apartment complex at the time. And I can remember pulling into the spot and he was talking to me and I was like, and I remember looking like, what in the world? Because his mouth was twisted. And it was just like, what in the world going on? What's wrong with you? And he like, what? And I'm saying to him, you move on. Really not thinking anything about it at all. Here I am now at that time, basically 28 years old. And there's nothing in my mind at all that's even remotely thinking about cancer being a part of my life, right? So as time continues, we started seeing different things. And I can remember calling one of my line sisters, or she actually was in Raleigh at the time visiting for work. She was down at the fairgrounds doing something with work. And she just called to check on me that day. And he took the message. So when he left the message, he left me a message. And it was such scribble scrabble. And I'm like, what is he doing? What is he talking about? So when she called, I'm reading the message. And I'm like, what in the world is this? And Sheila is an RN. And she said, and I could hear it. She said, Tonya, I need to take him to see a doctor. And I'm thinking, take him to see a doctor over scribble scrabble. Again, I wasn't processing anything at all. And she was like, yeah, I think you need to take him to be seen. So talked to Ron, mentioned it. After a while, we kept seeing different things going on with him. And he did make an appointment to be seen. And I found out that my first husband had a brain tumor. And it was at the base of his brain, on the stem of his brain. And it was like, I remember even still thinking like, okay, go ahead, take it out, get it on out. What do we need to do? Dexter and I was sharing and talking about this recently because I told him, I think it was you, even talking to my oldest daughter earlier, a few days ago, kind of just with different things in the situation. It was her. And I was saying to her at that time too, when you are that young, you're stepping into marriage, all these things. I'm a mommy now, and I'm really just getting started with this phase in my life. I'm not thinking death. I'm not thinking that my college sweetheart is going to leave and not be here anymore. What I'm thinking is, this just gonna be fixed because stuff like this don't happen, right? And it won't happen to me. And that's how I felt. But long story short, it's now when we saying how we met. I had gone in and I had gotten a loan. Now here I am with a husband that's has been diagnosed with a brain tumor. And now they're telling us that it's inoperable. So we are not going to be able to take it out. And I was telling her, I said, it's so amazing because here he is in uniform. He worked for Durham County Sheriff's Department at the time. And he's a detention officer. And he's in uniform that day that we go to the hospital. And he's standing there. And that day they took him back to look at some things and to drain some fluid. So here he is driving himself that day, going to work that day, only to go into the hospital for them to drain some fluid. And he went into ICU and he never came back from that moment. He's in ICU for weeks, a long time, finally able to get home, but never got back to the man that he was and that prior to going into the hospital. So now what's going on? We're living, going through our process, believing, all kinds of things happening. And here I am. I'm still working, but he isn't. We're still needing income. And it got to the point where I remember going in to see him and I said, okay, what to do with this loan? And it was insured. So now the payments were deferred.
Right. So when Tonya came in, to get first I got the loan approved, Then she came in to get a deferment.
I don't know him.
Yeah.
I only know him as a banker. I don't know him.
It.
He's just a nice fella.
So she comes in to get the deferment, and I get that approved. So now the loan is in deferment. So.
Yep, it's in deferment. And so now we just move on, going on, living. And it got to the point where, just to kind of speed it up, because we can give a lot of details in this in and of itself.
Yes, and so first what we're doing is telling Tonya's story on that side of the desk.
On that side of the desk.
So this is a desk.
So good.
Imagine I'm here as the loan officer. This is Tonya's story on that side of the desk. So we're going to tell that part, then I'll tell you my story on this side of the desk.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, you want to do that now? Because I can break that now.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, because I'm in this mode now where here I am, and I'm going through this with him. What were you dealing with at the time?
So you guys, so now, Tonya married. I was married also. I married my college sweetheart. Okay? And that was just a horrible situation. And so she's on that side of the desk dealing with her things, not knowing each other. I'm on this side of the desk dealing with a bad marriage that eventually went into divorce. And we had a daughter out of that marriage. So here I am in turmoil internally, and there she is. I wouldn't say
in turmoil.
In turmoil on her side of the desk.
It's just that mine is a little bit more exposed than his.
Than mine, because mine was internal. He's
not talking to anybody. He's not talking to his coworkers. His family knew, very close family, but friends and just other people, you wouldn't know anything. Yeah. And he's carried that, and you were carrying it then.
Yeah. So those are the opposite. That's a book. Opposite sides of the desk. Yeah. That's a good book. Okay. I like that. So you can go ahead and tell me.
So as time moved on, I'm working. He's no longer working. There's things that I need, and I also need him taken care of. He cannot be at home alone. How can I do this? I can't be here either. My family was still working. My mom, my dad, everybody was working. So I didn't have someone that could just come and stay at the house with him. So I needed to hire someone. So that at that time I was looking for someone that could come and take care of him, but I still need to be able to pay for it. And my family is there to help as much as they can as well, even financially. But one of the things that we did, we said we need to sell some plates. That was just an idea we had. It's something we used to do growing up anyway. Mm-hmm. Family reunions and all that good stuff. So they was like, let's sell some plates. And I remember I thought about Dexter again, and I called them and I said, do you guys want lunch? Selling some plates, told him why. He talked to his other coworkers. They put in an order and they ordered from us.
Yeah, so how about that, guys? So Tonya's calling around for people to get plates and called the bank to the banker, which was me. And I got orders from everybody at the bank to help support Tonya and her situation.
Yep, and he did.
Yeah.
So we sold plates, delivered them and everything up there. Mm-hmm. And so again, this is Dexter. And it's cool. And I remember even going back to the time prior to all of this, I had reached out to him too. I asked him to do a Mary Kay party for me. He thought I'm like, you can do a party.
She wanted to get. She said,
we have men products too.
Can you get your boys together, and we do a Mary Kay party? I'm like,
come on, now, it's
bruh.
Stuff, but he didn't take that.
Bruh.
Nonetheless, but okay. So
like Shannon Sharp.
He sure didn't. All right, so fast forward back. So now he purchases the plate. We're progressing along. I still don't know anything about his marriage. I don't know anything about him going through the things that he was actually dealing with and going through. But we just continued on. So after a while, as things progressed even the more, I remember this is something else that Dexter did for me, because we were blessed. It's like going through everything we did, but I was able to find a home, a single family dwelling in a neighborhood newly built, Southeast Raleigh. And it was like, could I get this house? I was approved for the house. Amazing, okay? Considering my situation, Ron's not working, all of that is so amazing. And many of you know how this is because the mortgage, a 30-year mortgage on that 3-bedroom single family house was less than what we were already paying in rent anyway, okay? Yeah. So I was approved for the loan and we were able to move. So now what do I do? And did I even call you for that? I don't even remember.
You might have mentioned it.
I don't think I did.
Because remember, we had the 4-bedroom.
So get this. So this is
the 4-bedrooms was going on there.
This is the thing. I'm already. They're already purchasing plates from us. So this is just in casual conversations, even. And you heard us talking or me saying something about us moving without me asking. Dexter rented a U-Haul. I didn't know and he let me know. He said I rented a U-Haul. So he and one of his friends,
one of my frat brothers,
they came to the apartment and they helped us to move out furniture and he delivered them to the house. You never charged me for that. He never charged me for that U-Haul.
That's just who I am.
He never even asked. He just volunteered, and that's something else that he did. And again, I need y'all to hear something. When I say it was like friends, it's just friends. It was just a nice old country boy.
Yeah. Now, let me say this.
There was nothing he ever did to make me feel like, and it's because he was married, I was married, attracted to me. Nothing.
Not at all.
Nothing.
But see, here's the thing.
And we didn't think like that.
As a banker, I helped tons of people. Like people would come in to get automobile loans. They're sitting on the side of the desk. I would say, hold on for a second. I would call the dealership. Let's just say they had the contract to do a car loan for $15,000. I would call the dealership on their behalf and say, hey, listen, this is Dexter at the credit union, the loan officer. We'll do 12. How's that? And they would say, okay. So that's the kind of stuff I was doing for all of my members at the bank. I mean, I just always went above and beyond for my members. Yeah. So yeah, it's just the bank. It's how we did stuff, right? So yeah, it wasn't anything for me to rent a U-Haul, and me and my frat brother go and move Tonya into the house, and that was it. That was it.
So that's what happened. So now,
thank you, Carolyn.
Moving on. I lose my first husband. I lose my first husband to brain cancer, and now I'm a single mom. I'm a widow, and life just has to go on, right? I remember even when the knock came on the door. You know, we're believing and it's something because it happened to be that particular evening. It was November 21st, 1999, and we were all sitting in the family room and we were watching Sister Act 2. So, you know, they singing, dancing, you know, the different things going on, and there's a knock at my doorbell rings. So I go to the door and it's EMS. And I said, oh, you bringing the oxygen? And they said, no, we got a code blue. I said, a code blue? And I took off running to the back bedroom to find my dad and his dad standing over him, pumping. And I said, I just walked and looked in the door and said, again, and took off running outside. And you see, I took off running outside, and I just started running and just quoting the scripture, and until I just collapsed in the street.
This is our story.
He was gone.
So this is our story. So this is Tonya's story on one side of town. I'm on the other side of town, dealing with a failed marriage, and all things that come along with that.
Yeah.
Right. So, just two separate people dealing with life, just like you guys watching, just dealing with life, right?
Yep.
So then, fast forward what?
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, because I was gonna say about tyrant in the neighborhood. Okay. So the fraternity brother that helped me move Tonya into the house, he and his wife bought a house in that neighborhood. So one day, he actually, now you guys listen to this. He called me. Did he tell me about the ambulance?
No, because that's what I'm saying. Dexter had no idea.
Yeah, that's right.
He found out that he knew nothing about this. I go through the funeral, everything. He doesn't know. Thanks, babe.
Yeah, I remember what it was.
He doesn't know anything about it, right? So, but then life goes on. We're going, and me and my daughter, we're just kind of living and everything, and so forth. And this particular day, I'm coming home. Me and her, he's outside. His frat brother lived in the same neighborhood. So he was outside in his own yard, and he saw us driving by. He said, hey, there's Tonya. Tonya just drove by.
And so me and my buddy Tyron are on the phone. He was like, hey, man, Tonya just passed by. I was like, oh, let me check on Tonya. Because I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. So
and
this
you
was
might have known
several.
He was past maybe because Tyron would have known. You think?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you need to tell me. But
yeah, I didn't know.
I just know when you call, you were literally just calling to check. Yeah, you already knew something because when you called to check how you doing, you knew that. Well, because when you called, you were just checking on me, saying how.
No, you know what? As a matter of fact, I found out and I called and left a message on the voicemail.
Oh, I never responded.
And Tonya never responded to that voicemail.
Yeah.
Right. So way later, Tyron says, hey, I just saw Tonya. So I called, and I still left a message, right? You weren't home. Were you home then?
I don't even remember.
I think I left a message.
I don't know.
So life just going on. And then I so happened to call one day, and you answered the phone, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, call, say, hey, let me check on Tonya. Mind you, I'm the banker. I got clients that I would call and say, hey, how's it going? Because that's what bankers do. So I'm calling to check on Tonya, and she answers the phone. All right. Okay.
Okay, and we talk and just catch up. And I heard his voice, hey, Dex, how you doing? And just like, man, this my boy, you know, honestly, because he's just a good guy. Listen to everything that I've already shared with you. Here he is moving the furniture out of my house, buying plates from us, got me approved for a loan, you know, looking out for different things. I mean, that's just how it was. So it's just like, okay, cool. But then he said, and I said, well, what you doing? Let's go grab some dinner or something. Let's go hang out or what have you. And he was like, oh, I would love that. It was like, okay, great. But he said to me, he heard something different. It's like in that moment, it's like he had just heard like.
Right. Right. So that was, when she said, let's go get something to eat, I'm like, I heard it differently. She didn't hear anything.
I wasn't saying it that kind of way. It's Dex.
Yeah, it's Dex. So I went to pick Tonya up. And I had on, look, I was working at the Gap at the time. So I was getting stuff cheap because I worked at the bank, and then I went to the Gap in the evenings to work. So I knew what time, well, every Wednesday the Gap had discounts. So I would roll my little vest, because I used to do the little collared shirts with the vest and the what you call them pants I had on, corduroy pants. I mean, I had my whole Gap outfit laid out. So I went to pick up Tonya. So when I went to pick her up, she came out of the house with Spiegel magazines and Eddie Bauer magazines, right?
That was my style then, Spiegel and Eddie Bauer.
Here's the thing. I went to pick her up. I opened the door for her. And she was thrown by that, right? Because, you know, when you just chill, when you get your own door. But I'm like, nah, let me open the door for Tonya. Open the door for Tonya.
It was like, what is this?
So we went downtown to South End Brewery at the time. They're not there now. And we had wings and a salad, right?
We had dinner.
Just eating, right? So go ahead.
No, he said go ahead. I'm just like, I'm listening. Well, we did.
Am I accurate? I'm accurate up to this one.
You're accurate. I'm good.
Y'all know,
we
had
dinner. We're going to bring it to a point because even like as we're sharing our story, there's some things that I want to ask Dexter. I'm curious about, and I think even our oldest daughter said not too long ago or recently something. I said, you know what, Talia, that's something that I've been wondering too. So for her to say it, I'm like,
Maybe we need to have this conversation,
first. Yeah, because honestly, I'm getting ready to hear it for the first time.
Don, I had the green sweater.
The Gap outfit,
the Gap
right?
joint. Oh man, okay.
But I'm asking, and on the real, we're all about to hear it at the same time. So that's kind of cool, I think, for us to do. But nonetheless, we were there. We had a really good time, and that's when. And the thing is, Dexter said when I walked out of the back room, my mom was there. She was there to take care of our oldest daughter, Talia, while Dexter and I went out. And when I came out the back room, though, he said when he saw me, he was like, Tonya. So he saw something different. I still hadn't, right? So now he is going through the process and opening up doors and all that. It's really nice. And then while we're having dinner, he and the Lord are in conversation. So while I'm sitting there eating chicken wings and salad, God, he says, spoke to him and told him that this is your wife.
Now, mind you, y'all, you heard my story. You know what I'm going through. It's like, hell no, excuse me. I ain't interested in nothing, especially in a relationship. So we're eating and she's talking. And you know the whole Charlie Brown, wow. So she's talking and I'm just sitting there eating chicken wings. And God said, this is your wife. And I'm like, hey, no, no, because I'm like, all this mess I'm dealing with, no way. So
you really
that
were
was
thinking?
My confirmation. No,
really, that didn't excite you though.
Look,
then
when
God
you go
said
through,
that it didn't excite you, it made you feel
no,
like,
I was
way.
because I'm like all this stuff you go through. I don't know if any of you guys ever been through a divorce or whatever, but it was just, no, I'm chilling.
I can't wait for the time that Dexter really is able to come out and share. I say this to him often. Many of you know my conversation camps that I have with women, very intimate time where I bring women together. We have guest speakers and we're able to share everything that's spoken here. It remains here. The ministry that takes place, the things that the word, God could speak, whatever it is. And not just from the speakers, but throughout the room, people share things and it helps other people to be delivered, to feel better. And I've said to him so much, I'm like, I want you to bring the boys together, and he's going to do it. But when I listen to him, I'm like, there's so much that even now, as I listen to him, even now, as I'm listening, and I can hear him and I can hear his word choices. And I can tell that he's like, let me say it this way. There's
a lot to this story that has yet to be told.
Yeah.
So I am choosing.
And I respect
I am choosing my words.
But I can't wait for the boys to come together.
Appropriately.
I really can't.
Yeah, so hey.
On the real.
So after that night, I took Tonya home, and then it was just
one every day. I tell you, because our oldest daughter, we were talking with all of our kids. Here we are all in, inside, not really going anywhere. You're sharing and talking a little bit more. And we were having dinner one night. And and the kids, they ask questions. I tell you, our kids are inquisitive. But one of the things that was said, I reminded Talia of, I said, well, when your daddy was coming to pick me up and stuff, you walked over to him and said, why you keep coming over here every day? So Talia wanted to know from him, why you always over here? Why you here every day?
Was she like 4 or 5 or something? I think Talia was 4.
About 5 or so years old.
At the time, yeah.
But the thing that she said to us just like a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago is, she says, but I didn't mean it like that. I mean, she said she was really just kind of like, what do you? But I'm like, but that ain't how it sound. And she said, yeah, then my mama took her to the back room and whooped her. It was like, hey, don't be doing that, kind of thing. But it's interesting. So let's bring it on up, because we spent some time just kind of giving that background.
Yeah, we'll get some more. We'll fill in gaps at some point.
So this is what I wanted to ask and just kind of find out from you a little bit, Dexter, is I'm a widow, right? So it's one thing, we both, until death do you part, death did do us part. And it's something that's so amazing because, oftentimes once people divorce, if you will, it's almost like that would be, and I can speak on my side with different things, but a lot of times for some people, that's even more acceptable for them to go and remarry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, you're divorced and everything, and you just bounce from, okay, go ahead on, kind of thing. And then I found myself in a position being a widow and had to deal with some who didn't like the fact that I would move on and even remarry. And some, it could be even the timing of everything as well,
right,
to us. And when things happen, I did lose my husband in 1999, and then we started dating the following year, and then the year after that, April 2001,
yeah,
is when we actually got married. So I remember having a lot of reservations shame, to be honest, about falling in love again and allowing him to love me and me love him. And then the big thing with that also is my cousin, y'all, and Tashmika. And even with that a little bit, honestly, I didn't give my permission. Even though I went through the steps, I still had a hardened heart. I had a hardened heart. And he had to deal with that for much of the first several years of our marriage, because of a lot of things, even for what I brought to the table. You talk about when you come and you stand at that altar and you say for better, for worse, that goes on both sides. I don't know how many of you out there now listening would even be willing to admit your for worses. Sometimes there's some of us who don't know how to admit our for betters because you don't feel good about yourself.
Right.
See, these are things that I dealt with.
Yes.
It was difficult for me to talk about my for betters, okay? But also, and I will always talk about what's wrong with me, if you will. But nonetheless, this is the kind of stuff that I was having to deal with. So I found it very difficult to love again, but I never communicated it to anybody. Not to him, not to my sister, my mom, my dad, no cousin, no friend, no one. I held that. And if nobody knows anything, I hope you're hearing me now, because those are the types of things that could really be detrimental to you personally, your health, as well as your relationships.
Yeah,
but that's where I was.
Yeah, and let me add this too.
I had shame.
So as a husband,
I was nervous.
Now, as a husband to Tonya, it was
and that's
several.
My question too.
Oh, you want to ask it?
Sort of. Well, I don't know what you're gonna say.
Well, it was well into our marriage. What, 5 years?
It's well into.
It was well. Now we've been married 19 years. It was well into our marriage before she totally let me in. And as a husband, I knew that she wasn't letting me in. So a marriage are two people coming together with two different lives and two different stories. And now they have to learn how to mesh it together. So I could tell I'm over here, but she's like this. It was several years into our marriage before Tonya totally said, "All right, I'm good." You see, so it's a lot of layers to this thing.
It really is, because we could really give a little bit more, but
yeah,
and probably my thing is to come and keep sharing and talking, because I really hope it helps someone. Want people to be free. For other people who find themselves where you are a widow or you've lost your spouse and you do want to love again, you want to move on, but you're wondering how. And I think for me, it had a lot to do with, can you really do that? And with my personality type, very black and white kind of person, it's like this or that, this or that, this or that. So for me, it was a lot of like, am I dishonoring my first marriage?
Right, yeah.
By stepping into another one.
Right.
And that's
very good.
The thing that, and it's like when you think about when you fall in love, it's like, how can you do that again? Questions. Come on, can we be real? Can we be real? Because that's what I was dealing with, but I said nothing. Yeah. I told no one.
Okay.
You see? And let me say this very quick, babe. And that's my thing is, that's how the enemy, that's his playground. Your silence. He's like, shh, don't tell nobody. Let me just keep talking to you. Let me just keep sharing with you. And then I sat there in silence, but I constantly listened to those thoughts, to those things, to what was being said. And then on the external, with my late husband's side of the family, I did deal with some things, you see? So if it was spoken, then it was also used. That was just causing me to feel even more crushed and down, which had me to do what Dexter just described, where he's trying to do this and I'm steadily backing away and he keeps trying. And that's what we were dealing with. Yeah. Gosh, I hope this is helping somebody. Just even to expose. Come on, what do I say? Exposure brings closure. When we're able to expose things, that's how healing comes. And with all of this, and as we're talking, so my thing to you even was, what is it like? What was it like to be married to a widow? You know, as a man marrying, you know, someone who lost their husband. How did that feel to you? Did it ever make you feel any kind of way? Do you know?
So,
and even it was a thing. Look at what happened. I sat here, I'm sharing the story when I went back to that moment of hearing. Like even now, to hear how that EMS came, and I'm watching him, and I'm seeing that day that he actually leaves this earth. You know, and I cried, and I'm here with my husband, as I still shed, as those tears welled up in my eyes at the memory of that day. Mm-hmm. As I sit here and I think about just different things, and I'm sharing with him, and I'm like, I felt this way. So one thing that I've always wondered, that I said I've never really ever asked until this moment now, is how did you feel even to date me? To begin to date me, did that ever come to your mind? You know, before you asked me to marry you, he went to my mom and dad and asked for my hand in marriage.
I'm a traditional.
You know,
I'm a traditional person, so I went and asked for Tonya's hand in marriage. Now, let me say this: I've grown a tremendous amount, also. But one of the things that I believe that's instilled in me is knowing who I am. When you know who you are, you don't have to project falsehoods on someone else. I was incredibly comfortable in my own skin. I was incredibly comfortable in loving Tonya the way that she needed to be loved, and I learned how to love her even better. I was not intimidated by her former in-laws. I loved them just the same.
Honored them, treated them
just the same. Shook hands and hugged and just the same, because now we are a family. So I was able to see that and say, it's all good. So I don't know if they were as open to receiving me as I was for them, but it didn't matter because I would have worked through that situation and standing back, being able to observe, and then making in my mind, the correct actions to make everything cohesive. Because see, the real deal is I have to marry her and Talia, our daughter, and which is a whole nother conversation with my daughter. But it all just came together, and here we are, a wonderful blended family. So that's even an entirely different story with blended families. Tonya and I are actually going to be interviewed in a couple of weeks. On a marriage, I think it's Marriage Can Win. Mm-hmm. And we'll let you know a little bit more about that broadcast. But I mean, this is just what it is. I was incredibly comfortable in loving her the way that she needed to be loved. But also, I was wanting more love from her and expressing it, but not overbearingly. So I hope that makes sense. So you typing a message? Okay,
that's good.
All right,
so it's got a lot of activity going on.
Yeah, so we didn't want to stay long. We just wanted to kind of give you guys
that you helped and got something out of it. But I just always just wonder. But I hope you heard what Dexter said even now, because he knows who he is, and that's a big part of it. Because a part of why I dealt with what I did deal with, and for as long, is because I didn't know who I was. And I had an identity crisis. And I based my identity on people. I based my identity on what people thought and what people said. I based my identity on people's opinions. And I carried that through my life. Mm-hmm. I brought it into my adulthood. I brought it into my marriage, which is why I say, you know, for better or for worse. That's what I brought. And that's a whole another conversation too for many, because my thing is, and it could be on both sides, but for me, it's with the husband. He's the one who's stronger. But that's the thing too, because even to ask, you know, what is it like to be married to a woman, or to have a wife, a spouse who doesn't have that confidence, mm-hmm. who don't really know who they are. So for us, and we talk about this even now, for us, it's a matter of this type of person. What is it like for our spouse to watch that? What is it like for our spouse to sit there and be observant of you not walking in the confidence or the identity, let's say it back, of who you really are? You know, and to have to deal with that. Think about this. These are the types of things that even come in and brings about division. The things where people walk away because they're like, I just can't deal with it anymore. But a lot of times people don't even know. They don't even have a clue as to what to do, which is why it's so necessary for us to do as we're doing even in this second. And that's talking, that's releasing, that's communicating, that's sharing. A lot of times people go and they abort in life and in situations because they feel so alone and isolated. They feel like I'm the only one. No one would know. No one would understand. When really people do understand. Why? Because there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing. What's that word? Nothing. Nothing new. Absolutely nothing. The good and the bad. There is nothing new. So there is always a resolve to everything, but you gotta go after it. You have to know it's there. You have to seek that thing out. Whatever you want and whatever you desire is for you. It's yours. What do you want? Let your focus be on that. Come on now, hear me, because that's what I had to do. And it has been work. It has been a process. It still is. There are times that things will still, even today, y'all, I'm in business, I work, there's things that come, it hits my desk, it hits the table, I'm moving, I've got this, I got that. And Dexter's looking at me like, babe, I'm your protector. You know, he's like, I'm watching. I need you to come on now. Don't let everybody just throw stuff on you all the time. I hope y'all are hearing me. I shared that in this moment to make the point of, for him, he's looking at me and he was like, I need you to come out your people pleasing mode. I need you to come out your where you trying to do everything and not take care of you. I need you to come out of that time. I need you to come out. Come on, Tonya. Get over here with me. Come on. And at the same time, I'm in a mode of, and he talks to, you know, I'm able to bring to him to say, okay, I need you to look at things differently. I need you to take a different perspective. I'm very good at that. I'm really good with seeing both sides. I can hear, you can come to me and talk to me right now about a situation you have, and I hear and understand you, but my mind is already on the other side to see a different perspective of the same situation. And all it takes to bring everything to a resolve is communication. Yeah. Giving each other the benefit of the doubt.
That's it.
You know, I do that. So we help each other. But I had to let him help me. I had to listen. I had to open myself up to be loved. And in doing so, I had to also receive the correction. That's my word. I hope I'm making sense on tonight.
Yeah. So guys, that's a little bit of our story. Stories that matter. Hopefully you got something out of it. I mean, it's so many different dimensions to the story, but we just gave you a little bit of it. We hope that it was able to bless you in your marriage, possibly, or maybe you're dating somebody. You guys have two different perspectives. You're coming together. Maybe you have children that you're bringing into the relationship, whatever it is. But we hope that it was a blessing to you. So we're going to upload this too to our YouTube channel, The Upgraders. And we just, you know, so many dimensions here, right? At the end of the day, 19 years later, here we are, still learning one another, still learning how to love one another better. And also, you know, Tonya talked about our conversation earlier. She thinks if this is a whole circle, she thinks in these dimensions. I think in these dimensions, and we bring them together, right? So in bringing them together, she still has her part. I have mine. And I don't know why this came to me, but even tonight, when everybody's sleeping, my responsibility, I still have to go and check all the doors to make sure that they're locked. I have to make sure all of the lights are out according to the ones that I want out. You see, so many dimensions to when things come together. But it's a beautiful thing. but it takes time. So anyway, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So maybe that's part one. We'll come back and do more stuff.
Yeah, because I'm saying there's so much to share and just to kind of help and just to be healed. And I see you, my sister Jennifer. You want us to vet them out first, because a lot of time, now I'll close with this, because people see us and I'm grateful, because even without us talking about our marriage, we would always have people talk to us about it. And just love it and just honor it and all that good stuff. And I'm really grateful for that. And I'll tell you, and I say it all the time, because Dexter is an incredible man. He is a wonderful husband. He loves me. If nobody don't know that, we know he loves me. I love you. I love him.
Thank you.
He is a blessing. I look at my girls, even now with all our girls. We have 3. One is married, a good man. We talk about that. We was like, we just so love her husband.
Awesome son.
And we like, and he loves her too, and all that good stuff. But our daughters, they're like the people who come to them. This is who they have. Our daughters is like, it's measured against this. So they see how he treats me. There's absolutely no way any man will come into their life and not do the same.
Look,
when I look at my son, I tell people I pray for that woman, because he is so good. He's a good little man. We see it. We've been talking about it. We was like, somebody would take advantage of him because he's so good. But this is his example.
Let me tell y'all what she did the other day. Tonya had to go somewhere.
What'd I do?
Tonya had to go somewhere, and she said, "Baby, can you pull the truck out of the garage so I won't have to back out?" I said,
"Did that offend you?"
I said, "Why don't you let me be your husband?" See, because that was already done. She don't back out of the garage. I back the truck out for her because she doesn't like to back out. So this is what I'm saying. I know what she likes, see.
I tell her he treats me better than I treat myself.
So I'm like, why don't you let me be your husband? Why are you trying to tell me what to do? I got this. Amazing. I got this.
He does,
sister.
He like, don't be telling him how to be my husband.
I mean, it offended me the other day. I said, wait a minute.
I can tell, but I wasn't trying to.
Let me be your husband.
And I was just headed to the back and said, hey, can you pull it out for me? And part of that though is I don't drive. I don't drive. He drives. He's typically the one that drives.
Right. When we get up in the morning.
So I'm like, okay,
When we get up in the morning, I'm like, do you want coffee or chaga? See, we have a chaga drink and we have coffee. And I'm like, which one do you want? Because it's going to be on your desk when you come in and get started for work. So y'all, please tell her, let me be her husband. Can y'all type that in real quick? Then we'll let everything go.
No, we ain't ended on that though.
Just go ahead and tell her. Let me be husband. I got it.
I'm letting Instagram. I'm letting him.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm letting him.
I am.
But
we appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys for spending this little bit of time with us on tonight. Just grateful. And like I said, we're going to come back and even share some more. I just honestly feel like there's just so much more to give and nuggets to share. I share a lot about me, my life, my story, how I am, how I think, that process. And what I've learned is that there's a whole lot of me out there. There's a whole lot of me.
Thank you
out there.
Thank you, guys.
Quiet.
Jennifer, Kim, I got you. Jennifer, we close. Kim,
he is.
I got you. If a dude wants to talk to you, let's talk. I'm gonna tell you what to look for. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to look for. Cause see, hey, Kim, Jennifer, if you trust me, you gonna get a guy. You gonna get a husband. You're not gonna have to open your door. You don't have to pump gas, open your door, or even pull the car out. I'm gonna make sure he got it. And if he's not the one, then I'm gonna let you know. I got you.
So now that everybody telling me to let you be my husband, you sure I'm gonna remind you of this right here. A lot. Okay. All right, y'all.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you. And hey,
we'll
be safe.
Back.
Have a good weekend.
We'll come back.
We'll be back. We'll see you. All right. Bye Facebook, bye Instagram. See you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.